Respectful dear family members, my pranams to you. In the last class, we were discussing about the Puranas. We should not and also we cannot compare Puranas with the Itihasas, nor the Puranas can be compared with the Vedas, nor Upanishad. But Upanishadic messages, the truth and fact about Upanishad, and the messages given in Vedas, and also the experiences and the messages, advices, guidances that are given in Itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Those messages are explained as stories of different type of people. Just like we are watching a movie, in which different players are there. You know, there will be a villain, there will be a hero, there will be a heroine, there will be different type of actors also. But the movie is not a history. There may be historical background for the movie. Some of the historical fact they might have taken for making a story. Exactly like that. The Puranas are Kadha imaste kadida mahiyasa. Kada means story only, not history. But beautifully with a full exaggeration, the Puranic stories are given. Why these exaggerations are given? Simply, you should understand that it is not history. For making you understand, for realization by you that it is not history. It's not what really happened, but it is a story. Only thing difference is that all the Puranas deal with the stories of kings, queens, ministers. As I told you in the last class, I need not repeat it. But remember that you cannot argue with any point of the Puranas. Puranamityevana sadhu sarvam najapi kavyam navamityavadyam. You cannot quote from a Purana for justifying something else. That you cannot do it because it's a story. Story of positives and negatives. Story of good people and bad people. That's all. In which even divine avatars and divine personalities may be taking a role in the story. So don't try to justify anything connected with the Puranas. If you are justifying that, if you are going on explaining that, and if you are going to rationalize it and scientifically trying to explain it or logically trying to explain, if you are doing so, naturally you will fail. Because it's mentioned that thousands of years this king did a tapascharya. This king did the tapascharya for 1,000 years. Because 1,000 years a king cannot do tapascharya. That's all. In the Purana it is told he ruled 2,000 years, 4,000 years. It's a story for which 2,000, 4,000 is okay. But if it would have been history, you will be forced to give the answer for that. So we always used to say in Malayalam that if it is a story, you need not answer for any questions asked in the story. We need not justify anything in the story. We have to take, just like if you are entering into a hotel and just eating the food, you are not expected to understand the route of making the food. If you have got any problem, then you can understand. You need not ask. When you are taking a lunch, you need not ask from where the rice was brought, how it is processed, how it is cooked, how sambar is made, what are the components put in the sambar, why these components are put, what are the addition curries, why those curries are made. We need not ask. Because we are going and we are tasting the food, eating the food, there starts the matter and there ends the matter. That's all. There starts the matter and there ends the matter. So remember that. Just like a story is a story, taking the good from that and analyzing it and taking the good from that. So what we have to do as far as stories are concerned, or whatever maybe it is, stories or itihasas or Vedas or Puranas, listening, analyzing and assimilating. Listening, analyzing and assimilating. You are listening the story, analyzing the story and taking the simple essence from that. That's all. Just like when we are eating the food, the body takes carbohydrate, the body takes protein, the body takes fat and the body takes micronutrient. The remaining thing the body rejects out. Exactly like that. Your mind has to take only the essence, the nutrition from the story. Other thing you have to just reject it out. And remember that the stories may be complicated, the stories may be simple, and why such stories are needed in the Puranas? To convey the message to you. It's for the common people. Common people always like stories. Why these serials are there? Serials are all stories. Why the movies are running fantastically? They are all stories. Since they are stories, remember that people are very much fond of stories of any sort. Any sort people are interested. That is why 18 Puranas and 18 Upapuranas. Remember that in one Purana, one story might have written. The same story might have been written in a different way in another Purana. Because freedom is there. It's only story. So you can do addition, deletion, modification, correction and even exaggeration. You can do any type of exaggeration. When you take Bible and Bible examples, Quran and Quran example, it can never be compared with any of our literature. Neither Puranas, nor Itihasa, nor Veda, nor Upanishad. They are altogether a different category. That's all. In the Puranas, even divine personalities, avatars play the role to convey you the message that good will always survive and bad will perish. Really what is happening? The nature will be playing the role paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam. The meaning clear? For protecting the good people. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam. For just annihilating, wiping out the bad people. Dharma paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya. Keeping the balance in the society, in your home, in your country, in your nation, or wheresoever people are there. That those messages are given through stories. So remember that Puranas cannot be quoted for denigrating Hindu Dharma or even bringing up Hindu Dharma. But you can say in so and so book Purana, such and such stories has been told. They can be taken for the management principle, for life management, for business management, for consoling the people. Those who have got very good faith in the Puranas, they can be even consoled, appreciated, motivated, encouraged using these stories. In fact, you know, Abhimanyu effect utilized for the medical system. Hanuman effect, that is also utilized for the medical system, for encouraging the babies, the children and motivating them and getting things done from an inferiority complex filled children. You go on motivating them. That is known as Hanuman effect. But whatever you are doing for the Abhimanyu, you know, a pregnant woman, if you are making her listening Veda mantras, stories and good music and good messages and good environment, that will be having a direct bearing upon the baby in the womb. That can be useful. Or all other matter, all the stories are useful for our day-to-day business life. Our day-to-day life, they are useful. It may not be scientific, it may not be logical, it may not be even rational. In our MBA class, very interesting thing, a story of, as you know that one, the tortoise and the rabbit. You know the story, but the story got converted into an entirely different situation. The competition took place between the rabbit and the tortoise. As you know, the tortoise was successful, rabbit failed. There ends the story. But in our MBA class, that professor said, our mentor said, the next day, the rabbit came to tortoise and said, we will do the competition today. Next day the competition was there and the rabbit did not sleep, so rabbit was successful. The second day, tortoise failed and rabbit succeeded in the competition. Then the third day, tortoise came to the rabbit and said, today also we will compete. With all confidence, rabbit said, okay, I don't have any problem. But remember that from the point A to B, where the competition was expected to be held, A to B, there was a small river channel with full of water. What happened? They started this competition and reached on the bank of that small channel, and tortoise just crossed the water and reached the final point, and tortoise was successful. Fourth day, rabbit and tortoise came together and they said, from hereafter we will not do any competition. We will go together, we will share together, we will be friendly. Whenever problem comes, you be on my shoulder. Whenever water comes, I will be on your back. So this agreement, instead of competition, it is complementing, cooperating, coexisting is needed. You know that this is a pure story of a rabbit and a tortoise. Like that, a story is a story and it is not a history, so it is exaggerated versions are there. So nobody, whether some of the Muslims used to criticize Hindus by quoting the stories. You cannot quote the story and criticize anybody because it is a story. So remember that. But the messages of the stories, variety of messages are there. You know that Bhagavata Saptaha Parayanam, Shiva Purana Parayanam, Devi Bhagavata Parayanam. These are all being done in many temples. Most unfortunately, the people who are reading these Puranas, those who are explaining the Puranas, they will be sticking to that spiritual or religious aspect only. They rarely go into the point of life management. Any story you take, whether it is linked with a goddess or god or avatara or asura or rakshasa or king or queen or ordinary people, whatsoever may be there, these are all to be connected directly with the human life for enriching our life, filling with the positive thoughts and positive achievements. Merely listening something does not, merely keeping the information on your head, it does not mean anything. But these informations are to be converted into knowledge, and the knowledge is to be converted into wisdom, and the wisdom is to be converted into experience. Is it clear? The information is to be converted into knowledge, knowledge is to be converted into wisdom, wisdom is to be converted into experience. The totality of the experience is our life. This yesterday I told it repeatedly. So this information you can get from a story. The information you can also get from our Mahabharata, Ramayana or Vedas or Upanishad, or even from any book no way connected with our religious book. But our forefathers very strongly stick into the heritage book. Now the second point of this, the Puranic stories are the base of all our cultural activities. It's the present Chief Minister of Kerala, Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, the first few weeks when he was in the power, the first beginning point, he constituted a committee for just understanding how many cultural programs are being held in Kerala, from southernmost tip of Kerala to northernmost tip of Kerala. The temple arts and temple musics, the temple dances, the temple musical instrument, and the temple plays and the temple drama, the Harigada, and so on. How many are there? This was the theme for the enquiry of a small committee. And the committee found that there are 1430 cultural programs, type of cultural programs, including Kadagali, Otantullal, Nyaninmal Kali, and Chakyar Kutha, Nanyar Kutha, Krishna Natam, Tiruvadira Kali, and so on. These are all Malayalam words I used. You can ask somebody, they will be explaining to you. And 1430 such plays and such cultural activities are there in the temples. They are there, still more were there, but now what is happening? The modern cultural activity is getting fused with that one, and enrichment is taking place further. Enrichment is taking place further. This is the report. So remember that all the 1430 folk dances or the musics or the or anything connected with the temple, they are all focusing on the Puranas. That is the speciality of that. Everything is linked. So Puranic stories are taken for our cultural and literary work, and creating so many books and creating entirely novel dramas and so on. Even movies. See the Vaishali movie, something super. It's taken from Purana and Mahabharata. And so many stories became the part of filmmaking, movie, drama, and monoact and so on. So remember that our Puranas are not merely for converting your mental attitude from negative to positive. They are all the real reserves for our entirely novel cultural scriptures and actions and activities and movies and serials and so on. And so on, so on, so on. Thus we should understand that so many Puranas are there, so many stories are there, so many informations can be collected from that. From there you can create your own knowledge and experiences, wisdom, etc. And next, when you are going to the next step, it's Mahabharata. I told you in the last class that 60,000 slokas are directly giving you variety of stories connected with the animals. They are mixed with the experiences of Pandavas and Kauravas. Stories are not separate. Part 1 stories, Part 2 experiences of Pandavas and Kauravas. Not like that. These are all mixed. When something happened, Vedavyasa will be coming and explaining something to Dharmaputra through a story. And you can see Duryodhana explaining a story to Ashwatthama, the story of an owl and a crow. So all these stories meant for learning and teaching what is meant by dharma and what is meant by adharma. Simple, simple. So in Mahabharata, every story connected with the animals, birds, reptiles, and so on and so on. I will say animals, that is enough. All these stories are specifically explaining and very directly explaining what is dharma, what is adharma. The dharmic forces will be always successful, even though sometimes initially they may be failing. Dharayati iti dharma, dharanat dharma. Dharma means the one which is protecting you. Individual dharma, vyakti dharma, and kudumba dharma, family dharma. The cultural dharma, samskara dharma, and samuha dharma, the social dharma, and national dharma, the rashtra dharma. Vyakti dharma, kudumba dharma, samskara dharma, samuha dharma, rashtra dharma. Vyakti dharma, kudumba dharma, samuha dharma, rashtra dharma is also alright, because samskara dharma will be a part of samuha dharma and rashtra dharma. So what is the meritorious thing that every individual, every family, everyone in the society and the nation in toto should be practiced? That is the dharma. If you are strictly practicing the dharma, what will be the achievement? if you are not practicing the dharma, what will be the negative out of that? It's explained thoroughly in the stories of Mahabharata. Stories of animals, not stories of Pandava. And Pandavas and Kauravas and those who are associated with Pandavas and Kauravas, they are not, we should not say it is story, it is experiences, it is part of history. It's a part of history. Itihasa. Itihasa means iti iha asit iti itihasa. Like this happened here. Like this was existing here. That is itihasa. Is it clear? So remember that when you are saying Pandavas were the people who lived here. Some of these Pandavas or Kauravas experience might have taken to the Puranas also. In Bhagavata, some of these experiences were taken to Puranas, and in the Puranas you can see exaggerated version of what happened in some of the Itihasa incident or event. So very simple, just like we say, if you are asked in your business management class, if you are learning how to manage the business, the experiences of people who lived in the far past, who lived in the near past, and who lived in the present. These are to be presented. When we are explaining the experiences of people, it's not the experiences of people who are living now. It's the experiences of Mahatma Gandhi, experiences of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, experiences of Swami Vivekananda, experiences of Bhagat Singh, experiences of Subhash Chandra Bose, experiences of C.V. Raman, experiences of Rabindranath Tagore. Those who lived for the last 100 years or 150 years. And experiences of people who lived in the far past. Far past means only Ramayana and Mahabharata, as far as Indians are concerned. For others, they have got Socrates, they have got Plato, and so on. It's outside India. For Indians, Indian far past experiences will be good. The experience in Mahabharata, you can see experience of Dharmaputra, what you are learning from that. It's not a story of Dharmaputra. Many people very frequently say story of Dharmaputra. Wrong to say like that. Indian story of Indian freedom. It's not Indian freedom story. It is the history of Indian freedom fighting. The word story and history, very casually when we use it, conveys a wrong message. It conveys a wrong message. So it is the history of Ashwatthama, history of Dhritarashtra. It is the history of Kundi, Gandhari, Madri, and history of, or historical fact of Panjali, Draupadi, Karna, Duryodhana, Dushasana, Vikarna, Drona, and so on, Shaguni. They lived in this world. They were existing in this world long back. So if you are going on arguing why Shaguni did that, nobody is expected to give you an answer. Because Shaguni, whatever Shaguni did, Vedavyasa has presented it for you. Whether you like it or not, nobody bothers about, nobody need to bother about it. If you would like to follow Shaguni, you follow. If you don't want to follow Shaguni, don't follow it. So whatever, whosoever good characters are there in Mahabharata, of course in Ramayana also, those good characters, those good players in the historical players, they are teaching you the positives of the message, which is known as Vidhi. Vidhi. The negative characters, Duryodhana, Dushasana, Shaguni and others are teaching you the negatives of the lives, which is known as Vidhi Nishedam. For learning the Vidhi, which are positives. For learning the Vidhi Nishedam, which are negatives. When you read Mahabharata, if a Christian or a communist follower or the so-called radicalist or so-called Muslim jihadi or the terrorist, Islamic terrorist or conversion workers of Christians, or you can see the so-called progressives and the so-called cultural stars who always used to denigrate India. Our opposite type of people who are always watching to North India and like our compass, always northeast. Kerala people and Tamil Nadu people, Karnataka, so many progressives are there. And they are intellectual creatures. Buddhi Jeevigal we say in Malayalam. They are not bothered what is happening in Kerala. The worst thing happening in Kerala, they are not bothered at all. They are bothered only what Narendra Modi is doing, what Amit Shah is doing, what others are doing in North India, Yogi Adityanath is doing. So they always criticize this Mahabharata. But if they are criticizing, of course it is their freedom of expression. But we need not answer for them because Veda Vyasa has written it, Mahabharata, the way it happened. It's not written the way you expect it to happen. So nobody has to justify what happened there. If you are going to justify that, the first question, who are you to justify? Who are you to justify Dharmaputra? Who are you to justify or denigrate Duryodhana? Who are you to criticize Bhishma Pitamaha? What role you have got in Mahabharata? So you need not do anything. Just like if you are going on criticizing American president or Russian president or German chancellor, another person can say, you are an Indian and living in India, why you are criticizing Russian and American? If you don't have any other work and if you have got enough time, then you do anything you want. It is exactly like that. And you know, Bhagavad Gita was advised by to Arjuna by Lord Krishna BC 3140, 38 years prior to Kali Yuga starting. When Kali Yuga was started, 3102. 3102 BC and February 17th, Thursday, midnight, 11:55, Kali Yuga started. But just the starting point of Kali Yuga, Pandavas went to Badrinath, from there about 60 kilometers, and they prepared for themselves for the Swargarohanam. Remember that? The Mahabharata starts with a story of a dog and Mahabharata ends with the story of a dog. That is the speciality. Mahabharata's 1,25,000 sloka containing Mahabharata starts with the story of a dog, Sarama, the son of Sarama. Sarama was a dog. And the end, Pandavas took a dog with them. Finally, it was some Yamadharma Raja or something like that. So remember that. You can see so many varieties there in Mahabharata. But the experience of each and every individual playing their role in Mahabharata, in which Vidhi may be there and also Vidhi Nishedam may be there. Vidhi you have to learn and you have to incorporate in your life. Vidhi Nishedam you should not incorporate in your life, but you can learn. Keep your ears open to listen good and bad. Keep your eyes open to watch good and bad. Keep your mind open to take only good. Listening, analyzing, assimilating. Watching, analyzing, assimilating. Discussing, analyzing, assimilating. Thinking, analyzing, assimilating, and finally practicing in the life. Take the good and practice in your life. Reject the bad and never practice in your life. Simple as that. Take the good, reject the bad. The experiences of people. That is what is given in Mahabharata. Now Gandhari tied her eyes. What happened to her children? You know, Dhritarashtra was a blind personality and Dhritarashtra could never monitor or guide or bless or motivate or encourage his children because he was blind. Whereas Gandhari could have very easily guided her children. The deficiency of her husband could have been cured if she would have been a powerful wife with Pativrtya. Nobody in the world has told that if your husband is blind, you should also be blind. If your husband is deaf, you should also be deaf. If your husband is dumb, you should also be dumb. Nobody has told like that. So we learn, don't behave like Dhritarashtra. Don't behave like Gandhari. Even don't behave like Kundi. And Kundi allowed Dharmaputra to play the dice. She should have told, never do it, never do it. She never said it. So remember that these are some of the things. I am not going to give full details. So it's your duty to analyze it scientifically, logically, rationally, management basis. Take the good and implement in your life. The experience of people who lived in the far past, experiences of the people who lived in the near past, experiences of the people who are living now. Our Prime Minister and our Ajit Doval, our Amit Shah, our Pinarayi Vijayan, Yediyurappa. You take anybody, whether in any district, a writer you can take, is a filmmaker you can take, an intellectual professor you can take, present, living now. Their messages you can take, their experiences you can take, and learn something from them and enrich your life. Make your life useful, purposeful, fruitful, meaningful. This is what the epics Mahabharata informs you. This is what exactly the Puranas also informing you. Is it clear? So tomorrow we will be explaining about Valmiki Ramayana. So from the Puranas you are elevating to Mahabharata. Tomorrow you will be elevating further to our literature Valmiki Ramayana. My pranams to you. Thank you very much.